Hello. As you can see, it's the middle of the day. It's clearly not usually time for bedtime, but I was just at Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, which is awesome, and you should check it out. Picking up some bedtime stories for myself, and I thought, while I'm here, why not read a bedtime story to you? That's right, it's a midday performance of BS with S.A.C. Last time we were here, what did we do last time? William was in the tomb or shrine or dungeon, and had got past that nasty bit of stuff and found himself a sword stuck in a stone, and he had just reached to pull it, and that's where we're going to pick up today. Chapter 16. The sword held fast. William gripped tighter and gave a sharp tug. Nothing. He climbed atop the rock, fully bracing his heave with his legs, and even tried pulling up with his knees like the goblin safety poster instructed. The sword of McVin didn't so much as budge. I'm gonna stop this for just a minute because some loud music just came in. Alright, now that the surprise Rammstein interlude is done, the sword of McVin didn't so much as budge. That was unexpected, Marcus said. Hold on, William said. I'm just not gripping tight enough. He dried his palms on his tunic, gripped hard enough to make his hands go numb, and pulled again, straining as never before. Sweat poured down his forehead and trickled into his eyes, burning them, but still he pulled. He groaned, gripped by the pommel, and made a few silent prayers about not being embarrassed in front of a professional, but to no avail. The sword would not move. What now? Asked Marcus. I guess we go back to Freeport and deal with your brother, William replied, disappointment coloring the words. It's all right, William. There will be other swords and other adventures. Yeah, William thought, with other people's names on them. Perhaps there will be a shrine or tomb or dungeon close to your home. Where are you from, boy? Barrow's End? Ah, why yes, there's the tomb of the old gods, not but a league away from Barrow's End in the Forbidden Forest. You're thinking of Barrow Town, sighed William. Oh, said Marcus. Then where is Barrow's End? Just down the road, said William, more than a little impatient. Marcus furrowed his eyebrows, then shook his head. Nope, never heard of it. It's literally a day's ride from Freeport. How can you never have heard of it? We're practically under your city's jurisdiction. Marcus shrugged apologetically. William didn't know whether to despair that his village was so insignificant that it had almost certainly been destroyed while the gods were busy actively ignoring it, or whether he should be grateful it was so insignificant that the villain Vilius Bloodstone didn't realize it fell under his corrupt rule. No wonder he wasn't chosen. He was a Barrows Indian. He shuffled away from the stone, feeling worse than before. He'd never expected to be chosen, and had made peace with it, but when the opportunity arose for greatness, when all the signs the gods had thrown at him indicated that he was special, that he meant something after all, how could he not dream to go where eagles dare? But it was the curse of optimism to be disappointed. Hope, for all its goodness, could be the most cruel thing of all. And so William walked away, no more special than the day he was born, leaving a room meant only for those legendary heroes whose resumes were padded enough. At the door he lingered. Marcus waited, holding it open, but the boy did not pass through. He turned back to the sword, his glance one of bittersweet longing. It had been nice to feel, even for a moment, like he had something some greater calling than growing radishes or mending horseshoes. Coming? Marcus asked. You go on, William said, eyeing the sword. I want one last pull. The sword has spoken, Marcus said. You'll only make yourself more miserable. Please, William said. One more. I won't be gone long. Marcus sighed and shook his head. As you wish. The nobler Bloodstone watched as the boy shut the door behind him, the slamming of its heavy oak frame echoing down the hall. Hero turned to the trapped passage and took a running start, then leapt at the wall, springing off sharply with his powerful legs upon impact, sending him flying toward the other wall. A quick spin and another push later, the hero rebounded and shot toward the opposite wall, ricocheting from wall to wall, further and further down the corridor in a series of jumps and acrobatic spins and flips until finally he landed safely on the other side of the trapped tiles. He turned back to wait for William. After a short moment, the boy slipped out between the doors, buckling his backpack. His hands were empty, and his belly bore only the blade he'd entered with. The poor boy, to have come all this way only to face rejection from the cosmos. He could sympathize. William climbed onto his pegs and worked his way along the wall. Marcus smiled, impressed with the strategy. The kid might not have the muscles, the coordination, the looks, the stamina, or the divine favor of a hero. But he was clever, and that probably counted for something. Granted, it probably didn't count for much, as Marcus figured. It wasn't as though a person could survive on wits alone. Still, the boy could use those brains to do something useful, like become the head farmer of his village, if such a thing existed. It was such a pity that he lacked the strength, the build to be a proper hero. William finished crossing the trapped floor and placed the pegs in his bag. "Are you satisfied?" Marcus asked. "Yeah," William said. "I got what I needed." The trip was uneventful for the most part. The trap seemed easier the second time around, especially with another person to help him through it. And the monsters seemed significantly more dead on the way in, thanks to the efforts of, well, not William. He hadn't killed a thing, but they were dead nonetheless, and that made things easier. The two men did notice, however, a strange and marked increase in men wearing bright orange trousers and tunics with their names stitched across the chest. They carried no weapons, their belts lined instead with tools: hammer, chisel, trowel. They seemed mostly indifferent to William and Marcus, though they did cast bitter glances from time to time. One carried out corpses of monsters and adventurers. Another carried some form of mortar and wheelbarrow full of marble tiles. "What's going on?" William asked one of them, a pudgy, balding fellow whose too short trousers had a nasty habit of riding down and flashing the upper portions of his bottom. "Clean up," he said, through what sounded like a mouthful of spit. "Clean up? Yep. Someone's got to reset them old traps and get rid of them dead bodies and clean up the privies for the minions before the next group of adventurers comes through." "Your maintenance workers?" William asked, amazed. "Dungeon maintenance workers? Ain't no dungeon," a tall, skinny one said. "No prisoners. More of a tomb, really. Or a shrine," the pudgy one chimed in. "Yup, or a shrine." "And you get paid to do this?" "Oh, yeah. Our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy helped build this tomb," Pudgy said. "Shrine," corrected Slim. "Shrine. McFinn appointed him steward, left a big old trust fund to keep it looking real nice, and hire help and all. Been a family business ever since, fixing the walls, recruiting the monsters, writing out the work schedule. You'd be surprised how much goes into maintaining a dungeon, or a shrine of any reasonable size and lethality." "Well, if it's your job to keep the place dangerous, why all the goblins? Why not minotaurs or something?" William asked. He wondered throughout the whole thing why the trap seemed so lethal, but the minions so not. "Budget cuts," said Slim. "Time was all the best nasties lined up to work here. Then there was the issue of mismanagement, frivolous spending. Dragons ain't cheap, you know, but they also ain't practical in a shrine of this size." "No, sir, they ain't," said Pudgy. "After a while, money got short. Budget cuts had to be made, so goblins." Slim threw his arms in the air in a defeatist gesture. "What are you gonna do?" "I suppose I never thought about it," William said. "No one ever does. Just smash, smash, smash. No consideration for the cleanup crew." Another orange-clad fellow, short but spry, came from around the corner looking upset. "Aw, geez, guys. You should see what they done down by the pivot pit. Hacked the marble to bits. Gonna cost a fortune to replace it." Pudgy looked back and forth between Slim and Shorty. "One of you's gonna have to fire the dragon." William pulled hard at Marcus's arm to hurry him along. "I think that's our cue to leave." He tossed the small pouch of gold to Pudgy and Slim as they left. "For your trouble." "It ain't right," said Slim, as the two vanished around the corner. "No one ever thinks about the costs of running a place like this. No siree, just smash, smash, smash. Boys, it's been an honor and a pleasure working with you." Outside, William and Marcus savored the sweet taste of fresh air once more. The night air smelled cool and crisp like late evening rain. It refreshed the two heroes, plus Bloody John, on their hike back to Freeport. Overhead, the moon glowed with silvery light, shining their way through the darkness. "Glad to see you made it out safely," Bloody John said, smiling. "You and your friend." "Thanks," William replied. They walked on a moment or so longer in silence before John spoke up. "Don't suppose I can go back on the bag now, can I?" "Nope," William said. "Why not? I've been good, haven't I?" "How should I know? You've been hiding out in the woods, leaving me to do all the heavy lifting." "Not my fault now, is it?" John protested. "I never agreed to no quest for no dead body, even if he did happen to turn up alive." "Look, you've had all day to rest, and I'm not about to make your lazy day even easier by carrying you the rest of the way home. Now suck it up, Buttercup, you're walking." Bloody John protested, saying something about William's mother, a keg of ale, and a baby dragon, but the boy made a peace offering of the world's most comfortable unpaired boot, which Bloody John accepted. As William reached into the bottomless bag to give the old pirate his token of goodwill, he peered down at his other treasure, a secret treasure, and he marveled at the way the moon's light reflected off the gold and precious stones and steel. Inside the shrine, Shorty ran to Pudgy with more bad news. He panted, out of breath, for several moments, but even without speaking, Pudgy could read on his face that something was wrong. "Come on, kid," he said. "Catch your breath and tell me what the trouble is." "The sword," Shorty wheezed. "What about it?" It's gone, sir." "Gone?" Shorty led Pudgy to the mural chamber. The frescoes were as lovely as ever, but the room lacked the splendor it had earlier possessed. Where the light shone down from the high arched ceiling, there stood nothing. The sword of McFinn had been taken, stone and all. "Well," said Pudgy, pursing his lips, "ever fancy yourself working in a cheese shop?" And that's where we're going to end for today, because I have a 20-mile bike ride back home. I shall see you next time. Until then, have good dreams. Bye.